The school bell rang, signaling the start of lunch. A chaotic symphony of excited chatter and scraping chairs die in the brightly lit cafeteria. Amongst the boisterous groups of children sat Billy. He was a first grader, small for his age, with bright, inquisitive eyes that seemed to hold a depth beyond his years. He always wore a slight smile, giving the impression of a happy, well-adjusted child. But beneath that veneer of cheerfulness, a subtle unease lingered. Billy was unusually thin, his ribs faintly visible beneath his t-shirt. More concerning was his consistent refusal of school lunch. Each day, a pre-packaged meal sat untouched before him, a colorful array of sandwiches, fruits, and snacks wasted. He would politely decline any offers from classmates or teachers, always claiming he wasn't hungry. During lunchtime, while other children enthusiastically devoured their meals, Billy would retreat into himself. He wouldn't participate in the lively conversations or playful antics. Instead, he would sit quietly, observing his classmates with a detached gaze. He might doodle absent-mindedly in a notebook or simply stare out the window. Lost in his own thoughts, he wasn't disruptive or disobedient, just withdrawn on a small island in a sea of youthful energy. Teachers noticed, but Billy was a good student, polite and well-behaved. It was easy to overlook his lack of appetite, to assume it was just a phase, a picky eater's quirk. But one person couldn't ignore Billy's quiet struggle. Ms. Gladys, the lunch lady. Ms. Gladys wasn't just any lunch lady. She was a fixture in the school, a comforting presence who had seen generations of children pass through the cafeteria doors. Her real name was Gladys Periwinkle, but everyone, from the principal to the smallest kindergartner, simply called her Ms. Gladys. She had a knack for remembering names, birthdays, and even favorite foods. More importantly, she possessed an uncanny ability to see beyond the surface, to sense when a child was struggling, even if they tried to hide it. Her warmth radiated like the midday sun, evident in her genuine smile and the gentle crinkles around her kind eyes. She wasn't just serving food. She was serving compassion, offering a listening ear, and dispensing words of encouragement. She had a history of connecting with children who felt lost or alone, offering a safe haven amidst the sometimes overwhelming world of elementary school. That Ms. Gladys had witnessed countless lunchroom dramas unfold. Forgotten lunchboxes, spilled milk, and the occasional food fight. But Billy's quiet refusal to eat struck a different chord. That it wasn't a typical case of pickiness or a forgotten lunch. It was something deeper, a quiet sadness that tugged at her heart. She watched him carefully, noticing the way he avoided eye contact and the almost apologetic look on his face when he discarded his untouched meal. That it wasn't just about the food. It was about something more profound. That Ms. Gladys felt a growing concern for the little boy, a sense that she needed to understand the reason behind his silent hunger. She knew she had to do something. The next day, Ms. Gladys decided to take a more direct approach, albeit a gentle one. As Billy approached the lunch line, she made sure to catch his eye, offering him a warm, reassuring smile. She noticed he hesitated, a flicker of apprehension in his eyes. "Good morning, Billy," she chirped, her voice as cheerful as birdsong. "I saved you a special treat today. We have chocolate pudding, and I know how much everyone loves that." She held up a small cup of the tempting dessert, the rich, dark color practically begging to be eaten. Billy's eyes widened slightly, a hint of longing crossing his face. But then he quickly composed himself, his expression becoming neutral once more. "Thank you, Miss Gladys," he said politely, his voice barely a whisper. "But I'm really not hungry today." Undeterred, Miss Gladys tried another tactic. "Well, how about a nice peanut butter and jelly sandwich? I made them extra special this morning." She pointed to a freshly made sandwich, the crusts carefully cut off, a detail she knew many children appreciated. Again, Billy politely refused. "No, thank you," he repeated, his gaze fixed on the floor. "I already ate a big breakfast." It was a flimsy excuse, and Ms. Gladys knew it. She had been watching him for days, and she had never seen him take more than a few bites of anything. Over the next few days, Ms. Gladys continued her efforts, offering Billy his favorite-looking items: juicy red apples, crispy chicken nuggets, and even a slice of pepperoni pizza. But each time, he politely declined, offering the same unwavering explanation: "I'm not hungry." Ms. Gladys began to worry. His consistent refusal was becoming a pattern, a puzzle she was determined to solve. The weight of her concern growing heavier with each passing day, Miss Gladys decided it was time to seek help. After the lunch rush subsided, she found Mrs. Davis, Billy's first-grade teacher, in her classroom, preparing for the afternoon lesson. Mrs. Davis was a kind woman with a gentle demeanor, known for her patience and understanding. "Mrs. Davis, do you have a moment?" Miss Gladys asked, her voice laced with worry. Mrs. Davis looked up, her brow furrowing slightly. "Of course, Miss Gladys, what's on your mind?" Miss Gladys explained her observations about Billy, detailing his consistent refusal to eat and his withdrawn behavior during lunchtime. She emphasized her growing concern for his well-being, her voice filled with genuine worry. Mrs. Davis listened attentively, nodding occasionally. "I have noticed that Billy is a quiet child," she said thoughtfully. "He's a good student, very bright and well-behaved. He always completes his work and is respectful to his classmates. But yes," she conceded, "he is rather quiet and doesn't participate much in class discussions." "And what about his eating habits?" Miss Gladys pressed gently. "Have you noticed anything unusual?" Mrs. Davis paused, considering. "Now that you mention it," she said slowly, "I haven't seen him eat his lunch. I just assumed he ate a big breakfast at home that I suppose I haven't paid close enough attention." She admitted with a slight frown. "I'll definitely keep a closer eye on him. Thank you for bringing this to my attention, Miss Gladys. I appreciate your concern." While Mrs. Davis acknowledged Billy's quiet demeanor and lack of appetite, Miss Gladys couldn't shake the feeling that something more was going on, a secret burden the little boy was carrying. True to her word, Mrs. Davis took the opportunity to speak with Billy privately the following day. She waited until the other students were busy with an independent reading assignment, then gently called him over to her desk. "Billy," she began, her voice soft and encouraging, "Miss Gladys mentioned that you haven't been eating your lunch lately. Is everything all right?" Billy's eyes darted nervously around the room. Avoiding Mrs. Davis's gaze, he shifted his weight from one foot to the other, a clear sign of discomfort. "I'm okay," he mumbled, his voice barely audible. Mrs. Davis persisted, her tone remaining gentle and non-judgmental. "We're just a little concerned, Billy, that it's important to eat healthy, especially when you're growing. Is there a reason why you haven't been eating your lunch?" Billy remained silent, his eyes fixed on the worn surface of Mrs. Davis's desk. That he seemed to shrink in on himself, becoming even smaller and more withdrawn. "You can talk to me, Billy," Mrs. Davis assured him. "I'm here to help. There's something wrong with the food. Are you not feeling well? Is something happening at home?" Despite her gentle prodding, Billy remained unresponsive. He simply shook his head, his lips pressed tightly together. Finally, after several minutes of silence, he spoke, his voice barely a whisper. I'm just not hungry," he said, the same explanation he had given Miss Gladys. Mrs. Davis could see that she wasn't going to get any further. Billy had shut down, retreating into his shell. She decided to back off, not wanting to push him too hard. "Okay, Billy," she said softly. "I understand, but please know that I'm here if you ever want to talk about anything, okay?" Billy nodded silently and quickly returned to his desk, his head bowed low. Mrs. Davis sighed, feeling a sense of frustration. Her attempt to understand Billy's lack of appetite had failed. The news of Mrs. Davis's unsuccessful attempt to reach Billy only strengthened Miss Gladys's resolve. She knew that Billy was a sensitive child, and that direct questioning wasn't going to work. She needed a different approach, a way to understand his actions without putting him on the spot. Unwilling to give up on the little boy, Miss Gladys decided to become a silent observer. She would watch Billy more closely during lunchtime, paying attention to his every move, hoping to glean some insight into his strange behavior. She knew it wouldn't be easy. The cafeteria was a chaotic place, filled with noise and activity, but Miss Gladys was determined. She started by subtly repositioning herself during the lunch period, ensuring she had a clear view of Billy's table. She pretended to be busy wiping down tables or restocking the drink dispensers, but her eyes were always on Billy, carefully monitoring his actions. She noticed the small details she had previously missed, the way he carefully arranged his uneaten food on his tray, the way he avoided looking at the other children who were eating, the way he would fidget with his hands, a nervous habit that betrayed his inner turmoil and a mess. Gladys knew that these small observations might seem insignificant to others, but to her, they were clues, pieces of a puzzle she was determined to solve. She was convinced that if she watched closely enough, she would eventually uncover the reason behind Billy's heartbreaking refusal to eat. She was like a detective on a case, and Billy was the mystery she was determined to unravel. Days turned into weeks, and Ms. Gladys continued her silent observation, patiently piecing together the puzzle of Billy's behavior. The cafeteria's lunchtime chaos became a familiar backdrop to her quiet investigation. She learned Billy's routines, his habits, the subtle nuances of his expressions. Then, one afternoon, she noticed something peculiar, something that finally offered a significant clue as the bell rang, signaling the end of the lunch period. Ms. Gladys watched as Billy carefully gathered his untouched lunch items. He didn't simply throw them away, as most children did. Instead, he meticulously arranged them on his tray. Then, from his pocket, he pulled out a clean, neatly folded napkin. With painstaking care, he wrapped the sandwich, the fruit, and the snack, encasing them in the white cloth, creating a small, compact bundle. He did this with a deliberate gentleness, as if handling something precious. Ms. Gladys's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't the action of a child who simply disliked his lunch. This was something else entirely. Why would he carefully wrap his uneaten food instead of throwing it away? Was he saving it for later? But if that were the case, why not eat it during lunch? The observation sparked a new wave of questions in Ms. Gladys's mind. She knew she was getting closer to the truth, to understanding the heartbreaking reason behind Billy's refusal to eat. The neatly wrapped lunch was a secret, a silent message waiting to be deciphered. She just needed to figure out what it meant. The neatly wrapped lunch became an enigma that Ms. Gladys couldn't ignore. She knew she had to find out what Billy did with it after school. That it was a risky decision, potentially invasive, but her concern for the little boy outweighed her reservations. The next day, armed with a resolve that bordered on determination, Ms. Gladys made a plan. As the final bell rang, releasing the students into the afternoon sunshine, she positioned herself near the school's main entrance. She waited for Billy to emerge, his small figure easily identifiable amidst the throng of children. Maintaining a safe distance, she discreetly followed him, careful not to arouse his suspicion. She knew she had to be cautious, a shadow in the background, observing without interfering. She didn't want to frighten him or make him feel like he was being watched. The streets were bustling with activity. Parents picking up their children, school buses rumbling by, and the general cacophony of the end of the school day. Ms. Gladys stayed a block behind, her heart pounding in her chest. She felt like a spy in a movie, her mission fueled by a deep sense of responsibility. She watched as Billy walked with his head down, clutching the neatly wrapped bundle in his small hands. He didn't seem to notice her presence, lost in his own thoughts. Ms. Gladys continued to follow, her eyes fixed on his every move, wondering where he was going and what he planned to do with the mysterious package. The afternoon sun cast long shadows, adding to the sense of mystery and intrigue. Billy didn't head towards the familiar streets lined with houses. Instead, he veered off, turning onto a path that led towards a small, neglected park a few blocks from the school. Ms. Gladys's curiosity intensified. What was he doing? She continued to follow, her pace slowing as she approached the park's entrance. She could see Billy walking towards a bench tucked away in a quiet corner, shaded by a large, ancient oak tree. As she got closer, she saw that someone was sitting on the bench. It was a man, his clothes worn and patched, his face etched with the hardships of life. He looked tired and weathered, his eyes holding a deep sadness. Ms. Gladys recognized him. She had seen him around the neighborhood, a homeless man who often sought refuge in the park. Ms. Gladys watched, her heart aching. As Billy approached the man hesitantly, he stopped a few feet away, clutching the wrapped lunch tightly in his hands. He looked up at the man, his eyes filled with a mixture of compassion and vulnerability. Then, in a gesture that brought tears to Ms. Gladys's eyes, Billy offered the man the neatly wrapped bundle. The man looked surprised, his weary eyes widening in disbelief. He accepted the offering with a grateful nod, his lips forming a silent "thank you." Billy watched as the man carefully unwrapped the lunch, his expression softening as he saw the sandwich, the fruit, and the snack. He began to eat slowly, savoring each bite, his eyes closed in contentment. Ms. Gladys stood frozen, her heart filled with a mixture of sadness and admiration. The heartbreaking truth was finally revealed. Billy wasn't refusing to eat because he wasn't hungry. He was sacrificing his own hunger to help someone he perceived as being in greater need. Standing there, hidden behind the ancient oak, Miss Gladys finally understood it wasn't a matter of pickiness, or a medical condition, or any of the other explanations she had considered. That it was something far more profound, a testament to Billy's extraordinary empathy and compassion. He was sacrificing his own well-being, enduring hunger himself, to alleviate the suffering of another. He saw the homeless man, not as a stranger, but as a human being in need, someone deserving of kindness and cared. In his young heart, he had made a decision, a silent vow to share what little he had. The realization struck Miss Gladys with the force of a wave. That it explained everything. His withdrawn behavior, his thin frame, his consistent refusal to eat. That he wasn't being difficult or defiant. He was acting out of selfless generosity. But Miss Gladys also recognized the inherent problem. Billy was a child, and he needed to eat. He couldn't continue to deprive himself of nourishment, no matter how noble his intentions. He was too young to carry such a heavy burden, to shoulder the responsibility of caring for someone else at the expense of his own health. She understood that she needed to intervene, but not in a way that would shame or discourage Billy. She had to approach him with sensitivity and understanding, acknowledging his kindness while also ensuring his well-being. She needed to find a way to help both Billy and the homeless man, a solution that would honor his compassionate spirit without compromising his health. The challenge now was how to do it. The next day, Miss Gladys knew she had to tread carefully. She couldn't confront Billy with accusations or demands. She needed to approach him with the utmost gentleness, creating a safe space where he felt comfortable opening up. During lunchtime, she waited until Billy was sitting alone at his table, quietly observing the other children. She approached him slowly, her face radiating warmth and sincerity. "Billy," she began softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can I sit with you for a moment?" Billy looked up, his eyes widening slightly in surprise. He nodded hesitantly, his gaze questioning. Miss Gladys sat down beside him, maintaining a respectful distance. She didn't mention anything about following him or seeing him in the park. Instead, she focused on building a connection, creating a sense of trust. "I've noticed you haven't been eating your lunch lately," she said gently, "and I've been a little worried about you." She paused, allowing him time to respond. Billy remained silent, his eyes fixed on his hands. "I also saw you being very kind to someone yesterday," Miss Gladys continued, choosing her words carefully. She didn't want to reveal too much, but she wanted him to know that she understood. "I saw you sharing your lunch with someone who needed it." She paused again, her eyes meeting his. "That was a very generous and compassionate thing to do. Billy, you have a very kind heart." Miss Gladys watched as Billy's eyes welled up with tears. He looked relieved, as if a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. He finally felt seen, understood, and appreciated for his act of kindness, not judged for his lack of eating. The tears that welled up in Billy's eyes began to spill down his cheeks. He sniffled softly, wiping them away with the back of his hand, feeling understood and appreciated. He finally felt safe enough to confide in Miss Gladys. "It's just," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "my family, we don't have much money right now." Miss Gladys listened patiently, her heart aching for the little boy. She suspected that financial hardship might be a factor, but she hadn't wanted to pry. "Sometimes," Billy continued, "there isn't enough food at home. Why Mom and Dad try really hard, but it's difficult." He paused, taking a deep breath. "And I see people like that man in the park, and I know they have even less than we do." His voice cracked with emotion. I feel guilty eating when other people are starving. It doesn't seem fair." Miss Gladys reached out and gently squeezed his hand, offering him silent support. "Oh, Billy," she said softly, her voice filled with compassion. "You are such a kind and caring boy." She understood now the depth of his sacrifice, the weight of his guilt. He wasn't just giving away his lunch. He was trying to right a wrong, to balance an unfair world in his own small way. "But Billy," she continued gently, "you need to eat too. You can't help others if you're not strong and healthy yourself." She looked into his eyes, her gaze unwavering. "It's okay to receive help, Billy. It doesn't make you any less kind or compassionate." Seeing the burden Billy had been carrying, Miss Gladys felt a surge of protectiveness. She knew she couldn't let him continue to sacrifice his own well-being. She had to find a way to help him, to ease his guilt and ensure he got the nourishment he needed. "Billy," she said, her voice firm but gentle, "you don't have to carry this burden alone, that it's not your responsibility to solve all the world's problems, that you're just a little boy, and you deserve to be taken care of too." She took his small hands in hers, her touch reassuring. "I promise you," she continued, "I'm going to help you find a solution. We can find a way for you to eat and still help others. You don't have to choose between the two." She thought for a moment, considering the options. She knew she needed to act quickly to provide Billy with immediate relief and reassurance. "How about this?" she suggested. "Let me talk to the principal and Mrs. Davis. Maybe we can find a way for you to get extra food at school, enough for you to eat and some to take home to your family. And we can also see if there's a way to help the man in the park." She smiled reassuringly. "I know it seems like a big problem, but we can solve it together. You don't have to worry anymore. Billy, that I'm here for you." Billy looked up at her, his eyes filled with hope. For the first time in a long time, he felt a sense of relief, a glimmer of optimism. He wasn't alone anymore. Ms. Gladys had understood his secret, and she was offering him a lifeline. Keeping her promise to Billy, Ms. Gladys knew she needed to act quickly and discreetly. She waited until the end of the school day, when the hallways were quiet. Before approaching the principal, Mr. Thompson, and Mrs. Davis, she explained the situation to them in hushed tones, carefully recounting her observations, her concerns, and Billy's heartbreaking confession. She emphasized Billy's compassionate heart, his selfless generosity, and the financial difficulties his family was facing. That Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Davis listened attentively, their expressions reflecting a mixture of surprise and concern. They were both deeply moved by Billy's story and impressed by Ms. Gladys's dedication and empathy. "We had no idea," Mr. Thompson said, shaking his head in disbelief. "He's such a quiet, unassuming child. It's hard to imagine he's carrying such a heavy burden." "It's a testament to his character," Mrs. Davis added, her voice filled with admiration. "He's putting others before himself, even when he's struggling." Ms. Gladys stressed the importance of handling the situation with sensitivity and discretion. She didn't want to embarrass Billy or make him feel like he was being singled out. They needed to find a solution that would help him without drawing unnecessary attention to his family's financial struggles. "We need to be careful not to damage his pride," Ms. Gladys cautioned. "He's already feeling guilty about his family's situation. That we need to make sure he knows that it's okay to receive help, that it doesn't diminish his kindness or compassion." Mr. Thompson and Mrs. Davis assured Ms. Gladys that they would do everything they could to help. They agreed to work together to find a solution that would support Billy and his family, while also honoring his compassionate spirit. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Davis, and Ms. Gladys worked swiftly and discreetly to implement a plan that would address Billy's needs without causing him embarrassment or jeopardizing his pride. They understood the importance of acting with sensitivity and compassion. The first step was to arrange for Billy to receive free lunches. That Mr. Thompson quietly adjusted the school's records, ensuring that Billy was automatically enrolled in the free lunch program without requiring any additional paperwork or explanation. This ensured that Billy wouldn't feel singled out or stigmatized. Next, they devised a plan to provide Billy with extra food to take home to his family. But Mrs. Davis volunteered to discreetly pack a small bag of non-perishable food items, granola bars, canned goods, and fruit, each day and hand it to Billy at the end of the school day. She would do this privately, away from the other students, framing it as a reward for his hard work and good behavior. This allowed Billy to accept the food without feeling like he was receiving charity. Ms. Gladys also played a crucial role. She made sure to offer Billy extra portions during lunchtime, encouraging him to eat more while subtly packing additional snacks for him to take home. She would often say things like, "Billy, you've been working so hard. You need to fuel up," or "These cookies are extra delicious today. I made too many. You should take some home to share with your family." The entire process was orchestrated with utmost care and consideration, ensuring that Billy felt supported and cared for, rather than pitted or ashamed. They were providing him with the nourishment he needed while also preserving his dignity and honoring his compassionate spirit. While the immediate needs of Billy and his family were being addressed, Ms. Gladys felt compelled to do more. She recognized that Billy's family wasn't the only one struggling in the community, and she wanted to create a more sustainable solution that would benefit others in need as well. With Mr. Thompson's blessing, Ms. Gladys organized a small, anonymous food drive within the school community. She carefully crafted a flyer that emphasized the importance of helping families in need, without specifically mentioning Billy or his situation. The flyer encouraged students and their families to donate non-perishable food items, such as canned goods, pasta, rice, and cereal, which would be distributed to local families facing food insecurity. The collection boxes were placed discreetly in the school lobby and cafeteria, ensuring that the food drive remained anonymous and that no one felt pressured to participate. And Ms. Gladys also enlisted the help of a few trusted parent volunteers who helped to sort and pack the donated food items into discreet bags. These bags were then distributed to families in need through a local community center, ensuring that the food reached those who needed it most. The response from the school community was overwhelming. Students and families generously donated a wide variety of food items, filling the collection boxes to overflowing. Ms. Gladys was deeply touched by the outpouring of support and generosity. The food drive not only provided much-needed assistance to families in need, but also fostered a sense of community and compassion within the school. That it taught the students the importance of giving back and helping others, reinforcing the values of empathy and kindness that Ms. Gladys so deeply cherished. The transformation in Billy was remarkable. With the weight of his secret lifted and the assurance that his family was being supported, he began to eat regularly at school. That he no longer declined Ms. Gladys's offers of extra portions or Mrs. Davis's discreet bags of food to take home. He started slowly at first, tentatively taking small bites, as if unsure whether he deserved the nourishment. But as the days passed, his appetite grew, and he began to eat with genuine enjoyment. He savored the taste of the sandwiches, the crunch of the apples, and the sweetness of the cookies. Ms. Gladys watched with a beaming smile as Billy cleared his plate each day. She noticed that he was visibly gaining weight, his cheeks filling out, his ribs no longer so prominent beneath his shirt. He had more energy, his movements were more fluid, and his eyes sparkled with newfound vitality. His transformation wasn't just physical, it was also emotional. That he became more engaged in class, participating in discussions and asking questions. He started to interact more with his classmates, joining in their games and sharing jokes. Mrs. Davis noticed that Billy was no longer as withdrawn as he had been. He seemed happier, more confident, and more at ease. That he smiled more often, and his laughter, once a rare sound, now echoed through the classroom. The change in Billy was a testament to the power of compassion, understanding, and support. It showed that even the smallest acts of kindness can have a profound impact on a child's life, helping them to overcome adversity and reach their full potential. He was finally thriving, both inside and out. Billy's act of kindness, though initially hidden, had a profound ripple effect throughout the school. While the other students weren't privy to the specifics of his situation, they noticed his transformation, his newfound energy, and his increased engagement. They saw him as a happier, more confident child, and they were drawn to his positive energy. The anonymous food drive sparked a sense of awareness and compassion among the students. They began to think more about those less fortunate and to look for ways to help others in their own small ways. Some students started sharing their snacks with classmates who had forgotten their lunch. Others offered to help their neighbors with chores or volunteered at the local animal shelter. Small acts of kindness became more common, creating a more caring and supportive atmosphere within the school. Mrs. Davis incorporated lessons on empathy and compassion into her curriculum, encouraging her students to think about the needs of others and to find ways to make a difference in their community. She organized class projects that focused on helping the homeless, visiting nursing homes, and collecting donations for local charities. Billy's story, though never explicitly revealed, served as an inspiration to his classmates. They saw in him the power of kindness and the importance of helping others, even when they themselves were facing challenges. His selfless act had created a ripple effect of compassion, transforming the school into a more caring and supportive community. It demonstrated how one small act of kindness can have a far-reaching impact, inspiring others to do good and creating a more positive and compassionate world. Through their shared experience, Ms. Gladys and Billy formed a lasting bond. A connection built on trust, understanding, and shared compassion, Ms. Gladys became more than just the lunch lady. She became a confidant, a mentor, and a friend to Billy. Billy, in turn, saw Ms. Gladys as a safe haven, a person he could always turn to for support and encouragement. He would often seek her out during lunchtime, sharing his joys, his fears, and his dreams. They would talk about all sorts of things. Billy's favorite books, his aspirations to become an artist, and his continued concern for the homeless man in the park. Ms. Gladys listened patiently, offering words of wisdom and encouragement. She also made sure to check in on Billy regularly, ensuring that he was continuing to thrive and that his family was still receiving the support they needed. She would often ask him about his family, his schoolwork, and his overall well-being. Their bond extended beyond the school walls. That Ms. Gladys would sometimes run into Billy and his family at the local grocery store or the library. They would always greet each other with warm smiles and genuine affection. The connection between Ms. Gladys and Billy served as a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness can forge lasting relationships and create a sense of belonging. It demonstrated the importance of human connection and the power of empathy to bridge divides and heal wounds. Their bond was a testament to the transformative power of compassion and the enduring impact of a caring adult in a child's life. It was a friendship that would last a lifetime. In the end, Billy learned a valuable lesson, that it's okay to receive help while still helping others. He realized that his kindness and compassion didn't have to come at the expense of his own well-being. He could be both a giver and a receiver, a helper and someone who is helped. He continued to be a compassionate and generous child, always looking for ways to make a difference in the lives of others. He volunteered at the local soup kitchen, collected donations for the homeless shelter, and even started a small recycling program at his school. He never forgot the kindness that Ms. Gladys had shown him, and he always made sure to express his gratitude for her unwavering support. He understood that her compassion had not only saved him from hunger, but had also taught him a valuable lesson about the importance of empathy and community. The story of Billy and Ms. Gladys serves as a powerful reminder of the profound impact that a caring adult can have on a child's life. It highlights the importance of empathy, understanding, and support in helping children overcome adversity and reach their full potential. It also emphasizes the crucial role that communities play in supporting families in need and creating a more just and equitable world. By working together, we can create a society where all children have the opportunity to thrive, regardless of their circumstances. Billy's story is a testament to the power of kindness, the importance of community, and the enduring legacy of a caring heart. It's a story that reminds us that even the smallest acts of compassion can make a world of difference.